Dad's Bet Baseball official team preview for your Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim is brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, hofapp.com, or if you're watching, you get to use the QR code. We use Hall of Fame Bets for every single sport, NBA, NHL, definitely baseball, where you can go in, and even though they are in the off season, you can still see players. You can see how they performed last year. Use code DADS for 50% off your first month, and you get a 7-day free trial. Once again, that is Hall of Fame Bets, hofapp.com, partner to the show, and we are very appreciative of them as a sponsor for this entire team series of previews. With that, CJ, let's get into a team that I am higher on than you are, but we'll discuss why delicately. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim were not very good last year. Did you know that?
You know, they weren't very good, and I don't want to put too much into your argument here early on. They were 9 wins better though than they were in 2024. 9-win improvement last year. They were 72-90.
And we rest. Well, I shouldn't say rest in peace for a guy who had to leave midseason for a medical issue, but rip our Ron Washington
Manager of the Year
tickets.
Yeah. Remember we had a moment we were like, if he comes back in September and they're in playoff contention, like there's going to be a narrative. Like they might give it to him.
I mean, look. So running right through on this team again, I'm going to pull this up because I had to pull it up this morning while I was at daycare drop off fighting with you over text like I usually do. They were 72-90, which actually isn't bad. And they were only 18 games back in the division, which also isn't that bad. And but they had a minus 164 run differential, which is very, very bad.
Yikes.
So
that is not good.
That gave me a little bit of pause when I was pumping myself up over how I felt like that team would do. So, all right, they as I go into this, like you said, they had a 9-game win improvement over the previous season. I had put them at 71 wins. I have since in November. I moved them up to 72 right before the winter meetings. They are at 70.5 in the market. So this is one of those ones where the market and what I think are relatively the same. But over the course of the last few weeks and really last few hours, I have gotten much higher on this team, but I'm going to run through just some of their notable acquisitions in Grayson Rodriguez from the Orioles and that trade they made for Taylor Ward, Josh Lowe, who both Lowe's are not on the Tampa Bay Rays anymore. Kirby Yates, who actually has an obscene whiff rate. I didn't really pitch much with the Dodgers. This whole team is like a collection of 1-year deals, which we'll probably talk a little bit more about. Alek Manoah, who never actually ended up pitching for the Braves, but was on the Braves after he was on Toronto. Vaughn Grissom, who I've always liked. Yohan Moncada, who is not a good baseball player, but is scheduled to back cleanup. Drew Pomerantz, solid reliever. Jordan Romano, not
Pomerantz
solid.
is a good one. Sneaky good one, actually, that they got Pomerantz in there.
I think the theme of this team is sneaky good ones. Notable guys that we showed the door to: Taylor Ward in the Orioles trade. Kenley Jensen went to the Tigers in what I guess is going to be their 3-headed closer role. That's fine.
Did not want to be traded there either. He was like upset that he
was not happy with that.
Well, he
wanted he wanted to get the record. He wanted
the saves record, right?
Saves record, yeah. Brock Burke, who I'm not familiar with, and then a different Luis Garcia than the one that we mentioned yesterday, the other day with the Nats. This Luis Garcia, the pitcher, he ended up signing with the Mets. So, all of that being said about our guys, why don't you tell me what is the number one thing that you remember about this team from last year?
This is not a memorable team whatsoever. And I guess when you have a run differential of minus 164, that's why. I mean,
third worst in
you
baseball,
brought up
the way. Third worst.
Yeah. I wish you wouldn't have actually said that because I was starting to warm up on this team, and then you brought that up, and I went, "Oh, okay." But anyways, I mean, I remember our Ron Washington bet, which I felt okay about for at least the first couple months. They weren't that bad. And it, you know, you look at kind of I remember fading Kakanowitz quite a bit last season. He
Forgot
was
about
always a
him.
guy that he was as when you were looking for home runs, that was a guy you were always targeting against. Um, I remember I believe you and I had a brief, I had a brief sort of my pants getting a little bit bigger over Jose Soriano because I thought Jose Soriano was
Yes.
just awesome. And I mean, really, if you go look at, he has some of the things about, like, he had a 63.3% ground ball rate last year. That is
He's DP King.
ridiculous.
DP King.
DP King, yes. So
DP
that was,
King.
and
Jose
that might have been the other
Lotto.
thing I remember about this team was when he would be on the mound, that was a immediate double play bet that
Yeah.
you'd be putting out to everybody. So there was some, I guess, some good things. Like it wasn't, I didn't hate this team. They weren't like the Rockies where I almost had probably a handful of bets on them the entire season. Like there were guys you would want to back day to day. Taylor Ward, I know he's off the team, but he was kind of fun to bet for some total base stuff. Taylor Ward also, who I will always remember Taylor Ward because I thought that was the reason Pete Alonso was not becoming a Baltimore Oriole, and go figure. The Orioles just wanted Taylor Ward.
They
I
just
guess
wanted another Tyler O'Neill.
another right-handed slugger, sure. But
so
I don't know, man. I mean, what was your main thoughts on this team last year?
so as high, and I'll get to it, as high as I am on them overall, which I haven't even explained why. I remember banking on individual batter K props for this team. Like it was nobody's business.
Yes.
Adele too. Nito, not so much, but this Jorge Soler, very easy to get strikeouts with. We would bet individual strikeouts on this. We should probably start doing a mid ad read for Handygrass as I speak out loud. We'll do that at the end, but you can find all that on Handygrass. But yeah, look, this team was just kind of spunky. The DPs were probably a big thing for me on this team overall. And when I look at them this year, same thing that I thought last year. You and I were like, well, they keep getting these guys that are on these really manageable contracts, like Travis d'Arnaud. He's on a 2-year deal for 14 million or something. Let me look. Like it was is he still even on the team? I don't even know if he's still on the team. Yeah, he is on the team. He's 37, but they signed him for 2 years. By the way, another first round pick on this team. This team actually, though, as I dove into it, they had, Kikuchi, solid-ish, but tradable. Like a lot of these guys were like assets that they could do. Like if they needed to attach it to a Mike Trout deal, not that no one wants Mike Trout, but they needed to attach him to Mike Trout. They were trying to get Mike Trout out of town. They could. I looked at this roster, though, and actually they have, 7 of 9 guys are projected to have a WRC plus over 100. So at baseline, we are an above average team offensively. And I looked at what they did last year. Their starting pitchers all at the bottom of the league, worst in walks, worst in ERA, worst in whip, worst in home runs per 9, worst in hits per 9, hitting, terrible average, terrible on base percentage, terrible runs, 4th in home runs. So that stood out to me. And then the relievers came people like it was crazy. Part of the reason being our guy Reed Detmers was in the bullpen. He was lights out actually in their bullpen for a
Hashtag save Reed.
Save Reed. So look, we want to get around it because like we don't want to. I'm not going to wax on this forever, but I look at them at the lineup, and you got guys like Zach Nito, who off an elbow injury had a solid year. He still had 26 home runs and 62 RBIs. He still had 26 stolen bases. You had Joe Adell, who had 37 home runs and 98 RBIs. Taylor Ward, by the way, like you said,
I can't believe that Joe Adell had 37.
I can't believe he did either.
That's wild.
That's wild that he came into his own in his 6th year in the league. But that's the thing, and like the point that I was making you over text on this lineup is that they have Zach Nito, 1st round pick. Nolan Shanuel, 1st round pick. By the way, also he had a pretty solid overall year. He and you look at his second half stats, like 12 and 53 RBIs, but he kind of solidified himself. He had 129 hits. That's not terrible. They have a lot of guys on this team. Again, like getting through that. So no, Mike Trout, first round pick. Yohan Makata, we're gonna ignore. Joe Adell, first round pick. Josh Lowe, acquired from the speed and a little bit of contact. We know that he's a big future friend of the show, Saris, fan of Josh Lowe. Josh Lowe, first round pick. Jorge Soler, Logan O'Hoppe, and Christian Moore, first round pick. So this team has 6 first round picks in their lineup. Their rotation then has Kikuchi Soriano, Reed Detmers, first round pick, Grayson Rodriguez, first round pick, Alek Manoah, first round pick. So here's what I'm seeing with this team. That there is I
can name a lot of first round picks that have
that's totally
not
fine.
done anything. Just gonna call this out.
I'm just looking at there's a lot of first round picks that haven't done anything, but I can squint and I can see ceiling. If I squint and see ceiling, I get it. It's a 9-person parlay on this team, but there are guys I really like Zach Neto. I think Zach Neto is very, very good. I think Joe Adell got really good 2 years ago and has kind of continued to turn that into being a solid player. And Nolan Schanuel is only in his 3rd year in the league. A lot of this core can continue to take steps forward. I think this team can score runs. I think the biggest problem this team's going to have is pitching. And I completely
that's so funny because I have a little bit of the opposite read on this team in terms of where I like them and don't like them. The Schanuel part is a great point to bring up on your end because I didn't realize he's that young. So that's
Kurt Suzuki's manager, by the way. So first time manager.
So yeah, I mean that can go either way.
Brady Anderson's their hitting coach, by the way. Brady Anderson's their hitting coach. Infamous juiced 50 home run guy. Brady Anderson. John Mabry is their assistant hitting coach. Like this Adam Eaton is their outfield coach. This team is built to mash, dude.
So here's where I was taking this because I actually look at their starting rotation and that's where I'm squinting and seeing upside because you've got Grayson Rodriguez, who by all accounts heading into last year before he, and it's not coming off with like Tommy John. I believe he had season basically ending injuries because the Orioles were trying to, it was clear that there was no point in bringing him back in June or July because the team had fallen so far behind. So Grayson Rodriguez, though, came into last year assumed to be the ace since Bradish was not going to be there, which basically means in a normal circumstance on a team that had previously just won 93 and 98 games, they thought Rodriguez was going to be their number 2 guy. So Rodriguez comes into this season.
He's 26.
Kikuchi's fine. I mean, last season, 4.29 expected ERA. The whiff rate was definitely low. Batted ball stuff, it's always going to be really bad with him. But
cut the walks big time.
He did definitely cut the walks. He's not. You can do a lot worse, I guess, is my point. If you have a third starter, or even maybe a second starter than Kikuchi and Soriano, as I've pointed out, I think there are elements of Soriano that have a lot of sustainable things that can keep him good. And I look specifically at the fact that of that 63.3% ground ball rate and only a 17.4% fly ball rate, this guy keeps balls on the ground. So you've got Reed Detmers there. I think I can also squint and see a competent bullpen if things, Kirby Yates, your boy Jordan Romano, who we bet for saves leader last year. By the way,
well, I keep saying to you how I'm really happy with our futures this year. What I really mean is I'm really happy I'm not overexposed on Jordan Romano.
Jordan Romano saves leader.
Yeah, Jordan Romano saves.
Oh man, he was fun to watch.
By the way, Mike Maddox is pitching coach.
Hate wave. Oh, that's interesting too. So, but Romano, Yates, and if they are serious about keeping Detmers out of the pen, even though I think he has starter level stuff, then that's again, Romano, I'm saying this with an 8.23 ERA, but like he did come off a season where he had been hurt the entire
Right.
previous year.
Yep.
Clearly wasn't right, I think, out of the gate. His confidence was immediately shaken because he blew, I don't know how many saves in that first month. Just a
Yeah.
bad situation for him. Like relievers are much more, it's like defense in football. From year to year, the volatility between relievers, I'm willing to buy a case much more that a guy's able to bounce back. So I kind of see their pitching staff and some of the upside there as where I would be getting a little bit more excited about, I guess. But
Yeah.
here's what it comes down to for me, right? Because if we look at their win total, so right now the win total for the Los Angeles Angels is what?
71 and a half.
Is it
It's right on
71
the
and a
money.
half? Oh, team wins. Sorry, let me go back down here. So, you got to go to LA. Oh, this is stupid. You can't just see it. It's 70 and a half. 70
Okay.
and a half. Okay. So they won 72 games last year. Market is expecting them to be 2 games worse. And I think they probably are in that like I don't necessarily think 70 and a half is like a bad number. I think like probably between would you agree like 68 to 72, 73 is like sort of their standard
I would have them at.
distribution, or are you a little even higher than that?
I think that I would have put them at 72 or 73 and a half.
Okay.
But I think that the everything could go right argument has like a lot going right for this team. And
okay.
so
let's
here's
peel that back a little
bit. But the way to break this down, so it doesn't become like a 40-minute episode on the Angels. Hold on. So like let's get right down to it. Do you like this team more than the Athletics?
Okay, this is exactly what I was about to do. Figure. Yes, I do like this team more than the Athletics, specifically because of pitching. Yes.
Okay. Do you like this team more than the Rangers? I like this lineup more than the Rangers lineup. I don't like
this team more than the Rangers because I think the lineup for the Rangers can be. Look, and again, last year, I'm saying this is like a Rangers, which was one of the worst hitting teams in baseball last season, and it never got better.
I dealt with it with you.
I think their lineup, though, can definitely be equivalent or better, and I think they have a strong edge on the pitching staff with Eovaldi and DeGrom.
Yes. I think that the pitching staff. So this is where like the ceiling stuff happens because like I think that there's a whole grouping of some of these teams. So this is the thing that I had said, and this is really what it ends up coming down to. So the Angels are plus 750 to make the playoffs, which I think is a good long shot dart that I could have some fun with because you and I are both, spoilers for a future episode, we are lower on the Athletics than everybody else is. I think that is a steam train that you and I are like, nope. Of these teams, because this is who like, frankly, they'll be
they're grouped with, yeah.
They're grouped with. Well, they're a lot of them aren't in the AL, but for purposes of betting of these longer shots, which of these teams is most likely to make the playoffs of these longer shots? The Rockies at 30-1, the White Sox at 20-1, the Angels at plus 750, the Nats at 16-1, or the Twins at plus 550. Which of those teams, given their situations, do you think is more? Put this aside from anything of like, which of those is more of a bet to you in your eyes that you could see it?
The Rockies are only 30-1. That should be like
that's an awful number. That's
actually a very bad number.
It's a bad number.
It's
actually a really bad number on the White. The White Sox should be shorter, in my opinion. But
yes, I agree. But see, you know what's weird is as much as I like the White Sox, and when we get to that preview, there'll be a lot of things we talk about how there's good things with this team. I do see more of a case for the Angels than I do the White Sox to make the playoffs. Win total, different story. I think there's a higher floor for the White Sox of those teams than the Angels. But in terms of ceiling, if everything can go right, I think there's a little bit of a higher likelihood with the Angels than there is the White Sox. So on that, I do agree with you that they should not be grouped with those teams.
Okay. Now let me quickly just move it to the AL. We can kind of wind this down to kind of figure out what our bets are on it. I'm going to give you the hypothetical world where these teams are fighting for the wild card. All right. And you tell me which one you would want to do this at. Mind you, you already know that the Angels have the outlier price. So I don't know exactly what spoilers, Royals and Tigers are part of this equation, but they have arguably the same price. So Royals, Tigers, Rangers, and Astros and Angels. Who do you think out of that? Do you think the Angels could make the playoffs out of that group for the final wild card position?
Royals, Tigers, Rangers, Astros?
Yes.
Probably the Astros or the Royals for me.
Okay. All right. I think you're probably right. But that being said, I still think I'm still close. I'm a little more tepid on this plus 750 than I was earlier this morning. But so I'm not going to necessarily bet it, but I do think I can squint and see a path, and I just think that number is crazy.
I think you are 100% correct that they are grouped incorrectly.
Yeah, I think they're in between.
Their team.
They are basically.
Does it mean
they're
that
not
it's a
as
bet?
bad
I
as
don't know, but
yeah,
yes,
they're not as bad as the teams they're grouped with, and the White Sox are not bad. You and I both agree to that.
Yep.
They're not as far along as the teams that are ahead of them. So okay, over under on their win total.
I'm going over on their win total. If it's 70.5, I think I would give a little bit of an edge to the over.
Yep, I would too. I am not going to be betting that, and you aren't either because we have an under on the Athletics, and we don't really want to do too much. But player props or any other bets within this team that you would entertain?
I think you got to look for something with Nato, and I want to see is he even listed for run leader? He is.
I haven't seen the market, but I love run leader for him.
I think. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, you're right. RBIs is the only one that he is leading. He's on. He actually has the same price as Joe Adell, and I would like Joe Adell for RBI leader.
I like that
between those two.
What's the price on that?
150 to 1 for Joe Adell to be RBI leader.
Yeah, I do like that. We should.
That's definitely. I think
that's a bet. I think that should be a bet. It's a high on base percentage team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah. So Joe Adell 150 to 1, but when run leader opens up, if you can get Zach Nato, especially if you get him at like a crazy 100 something plus price, that's a bet for sure.
Yeah. I like the I like the Nato. I thought about him on the steals, but I think I'm just gonna take his over steals versus him to lead in steals because that team just doesn't want to manufacture runs that way. They want to mash. So especially with Adam Eaton as your hitting coach. Like so
my God.
So okay.
I feel like I'm back in 2003.
Right. Okay. So all right, we both like so Joe Adell 150 to 1 RBI leader. That's gonna get us sprinkled. Nato run leader when it comes live and over on the win total. And I'm not going to bet them anymore for making the playoffs. I've been kind of talked out of it. But this team I think could manufacture runs I think that this could be the other team in Los Angeles that people have fun
total
with.
Overs alt lines. You and I are going to be looking real hard at them
all the time.
pretty much every day.
All right, cool. So look, that was your Los Angeles Angels reminder. Thank you, Hall of Fame Bets, hofapp.com. Also check out Handygraphs. That is our website with all their data. You can use code HGEDGE and get a free month. And we will see you on the next team preview.